Random House Audio presents The Piano Tuner by Daniel Mason. Read for you by Graeme Malcolm. In the fleeting seconds of final memory, the image that will become Burma is the sun and a woman's parasol. He has wondered which visions would remain: the Salwain's coursing coffee flow after a storm, the pre-dawn palisades of fishing nets, the glow of ground turmeric, the weep of jungle vines. For months the images trembled in the back of his eyes, at times flaming and fading away like candles, at times fighting to be seen, thrust forward like the goods of jostling bazaar merchants, or at times simply passing, blurred freight wagons in a travelling circus, each one a story that challenged credibility, not for any fault of plot, but because nature could not permit such a condensation of colour without theft and vacuum in the remaining parts of the world. Yet above these visions, the sun rises searing, pouring over them like a gleaming white paint. The Bedin Seya, who interpret dreams in shaded, scented corners of the markets, told him a tale that the sun that rose in Burma was different from the sun that rose in the rest of the world. He only needed to look at the sky to know this, to see how it washed the roads, filling the cracks and shadows, destroying perspective and texture, to see how it burned, flickered, flamed the edge of the horizon like a daguerreotype on fire, overexposed and edges peeling, how it turned liquid the sky, the banyan trees, the thick air, his breath, throat, and his blood, how the mirages invaded from distant roads to twist his hands, how his skin peeled and cracked. Now this sun hangs above a dry road. Beneath it, a lone woman walks under a parasol, her thin cotton dress trembling in the breeze, her bare feet carrying her away toward the edge of perception. He watches her, how she approaches the sun, alone. He thinks of calling out to her, but he cannot speak. The woman walks into a mirage, into the ghost reflection of light and water that the Burmese call Tanhra. Around her, the air wavers, splitting her body, separating, spinning, and then she too disappears. Now only the sun and the parasol remain. War Office, London, October 24th, 1886. Dear Mr. Drake, I have been informed by our staff that you have received our office's request for service in the name of Her Majesty, but have not yet been notified as to the nature of your mission. This letter serves to explain the specifics and urgency of a most serious matter, and requests that you report to the War Office, where you will be further briefed by Colonel Killian, Director of Operations for the Burma Division, as well as myself. A brief history of this matter. As you are most likely aware, since our occupation of the coastal states of Burma 60 years ago, through the recent annexation of Mandalay and Upper Burma, Her Majesty has seen the occupation and pacification of the territory as central to the security of our empire throughout Asia. Despite our military victories, several developments seriously endanger our Burmese possessions. Recent intelligence reports have confirmed the consolidation of French forces along the Mekong River in Indochina, while within Burma, local insurgents threatens our hold on the remoter regions of the country. In 1869, during the reign of the Burmese king Mindon Min, we stationed in Burma a physician named Surgeon Major Anthony Carroll, a graduate of University College Hospital in London, who in 1874 was appointed to a remote post in the Shan States in the eastern reaches of the colony. Since his arrival, Surgeon Major Carroll has been indispensable to the army, well beyond his immediate medical duties. He has made remarkable progress in forming alliances with native princes, and, although distant from our command, his site provides critical access to the southern Shan Plateau and rapid deployment of troops to the Siamese border. The details of Carroll's success are rather unusual, and you'll be duly briefed when you report to the War Office. Of concern to the Crown now is a most peculiar note received from the Surgeon Major last month, the latest in a series of somewhat vexing communications regarding his interest in a piano. The source of our concern follows. Although we are accustomed to receiving unusual requests from the Surgeon Major with regard to his medical investigations, We were perplexed by a letter that arrived last December requesting the immediate purchase and delivery of one Erard grand piano. At first, our officers in Mandalay were sceptical of the inquiry until a second message arrived by courier 2 days later, insisting on the seriousness of the demand, as if Carroll had correctly anticipated the incredulity of our staff. Our reply, that the delivery of a grand piano was logistically impossible, was answered by the arrival of yet another breathless messenger 1 week later. He brought a simple note, whose contents merit reprinting in full. Gentlemen, with all due respect to your office, I hereby resubmit my request for a piano. I know the importance of my post to the security of this region. Lest the urgency of my request again be misunderstood, be assured that I will resign my post if the piano is not delivered to me within 3 months. I am well aware that my rank and years of service entitle me to honourable discharge and full benefits should I return to England. Surgeon Major Anthony J. Carroll, Mei Luin, Shan States. As you might imagine, this letter precipitated serious consternation among our staff. The Surgeon Major had been a flawless servant of the Crown, his record was exemplary, yet he understood well our dependence on him and his alliances with the local princes, as well as how critical such alliances are for any European power. After some debate, we approved his request, and an 1840 Erard grand piano was shipped from England in January, arriving in Mandalay in early February, and transported to the site by elephant and foot by Carroll himself. In the following months, Carroll continued his fine service, making excellent progress in surveying supply routes through the Shan Plateau. Then, last month, we received another request. The humidity, it appears, has stretched the body of the Erard, such that it is no longer in tune, and all local attempts to mend the instrument have failed. And thus we arrive at the intent of this correspondence. In his letter, Carroll specifically requested a tuner who specializes in Erard grands. While we replied that perhaps there were some easier means by which the piano could be repaired, the Surgeon Major remained adamant. At last we agreed, and a survey of London piano tuners has produced a list of several fine craftsmen. As you must know, most of the practitioners of your craft are quite advanced in age and not fit for difficult travel. A more detailed inquiry led us to the names of yourself and Mr. Claude Hastings of Poultry in the city. As you are listed as an expert in Erard pianos, we felt it appropriate to solicit your service. Should you refuse our request, we will proceed to contact Mr. Hastings. The Crown is prepared to reimburse you with a fee equivalent to 1 year of work for service of 3 months. Mr. Drake, your skills and experience commend you to this mission of extreme importance. We graciously request that you contact our office as soon as possible to discuss this matter. Respectfully yours, Colonel George Fitzgerald, Assistant Director of Military Operations, Burma and East India Division. Sunlight streaked through a small window to light a room filled with the frames of pianos. Edgar Drake, piano tuner, Erard's a specialty, put the letter down on his desk. An 1840 grand is beautiful, he thought, and he folded the letter gently and slid it into his coat pocket. And Burma is far. It was afternoon in the office of Colonel Killian, Director of Operations for the Burma Division of the British Army. Edgar Drake sat by a pair of dark, rattling heating pipes and stared out the window, watching the sweep of rain. Across the room sat the Colonel, a broad, sunburnt man with a shock of red hair and a thick moustache that fanned out in combed symmetry, underlining a fierce pair of green eyes. Behind his desk hung a long Bantu lance and a painted shield that still bore the scars of battle. He wore a scarlet uniform edged with braids of black mohair. Several minutes had passed since the Colonel had entered the room, drawn up a chair behind a deeply polished mahogany desk, and begun to thumb through a stack of papers. At last he looked up. From behind the moustache came a stentorian baritone. "Thank you for waiting, Mr. Drake. I had a matter of urgency to attend to." The piano tuner turned from the window. "Of course, Colonel." He fingered his hat in his lap. "If you don't mind, we will begin at once with the matter at hand." The Colonel leaned forward. "Again, welcome to the War Office. I imagine this is your first visit here?" He did not leave time for the piano tuner to respond. "On behalf of my staff and superiors, I appreciate your attention to what we consider a most serious matter."
Sample complete. Ready to continue?